Those of you in happy, healthy, and fulfilling relationships, what were the green flags you noticed about your partner early on in your relationship with them? I have an autistic sister. She's currently 20 with a mental capacity of a 3-year-old. Not everyone knows how to handle that. Well, 4 years ago, my girlfriend met my family. The two immediately became best friends. My girlfriend has always cared so much for my sister and would even sit with her while I wasn't home so my mom could go have a life for herself. To this day, my sister smiles and laughs like crazy when she sees my girlfriend. I don't know how much information she can retain, but they've always loved each other. And I think my girlfriend has had a huge impact on her life. So, when's the wedding? Story 2. I grew up in an angry, volatile home. Anything could make the adults snap and go on a rampage. When my then boyfriend, now husband, and I came home to find a major leak in the bedroom ceiling, which had leaked all over the bed and caused significant damage, he just flatly said, "Well, crap," and called the building manager. No screaming, no throwing things, no blaming anyone, just a calm acceptance and then action to rectify the problem. We're going on 16 years married and 20 years together. I'd say the bar is low, but then again, you rarely find a guy who doesn't blow up these days. Story 3. The first time we had intimacy, I got my time of the month and didn't realize until we were done and I went to the bathroom to whiz. It wasn't a ton, but I know it was enough to have gone on him in the sheet. I walked out of the bathroom and he was standing in the doorway of the room and said something like, "Is everything okay? Did you get your time of the month or something?" And then we both smiled big and started cracking up and he was totally cool and sweet. The next morning, he invited me to go sheet shopping with him because he needed new ones anyway and wants me to like the ones he picks. That was about 9 years ago. Are you still together? Story 4. He drove 2 hours on his birthday to pick me up and my mom abandoned me in a parking lot, brought me home and sat with me while my parents and I tried to talk things over. My stepfather started screaming at me for no real reason. He helped me pack everything I owned in his truck and I moved in that night. After dating for 2 months, it's been 2 years and we got married last month. Well, congratulations. Story 5. She apologizes when she thinks she screwed up and honestly tries to change. She regularly tells me she loves me exactly as I am. She gets excited for me when I'm excited about something. She tells me when there is an issue so that I can work on it, rather than sulking on it or going uncommunicative. We'll laugh together about ridiculous things happening, rather than one of us getting mad about it. She wants us to be equals in our relationship, which means if things need to be unequal in one way or another, we work on balancing it out. I've never been able to be as completely myself before as I can be with her. Considering we've been dating 6 weeks before lockdown came in and threw caution to the wind and moved in together for the duration, yes, all the lesbian stereotypes. I feel like I've used up all my luck for the foreseeable on this one. Story 6. Right from the first date, I had a good feeling. Have really similar tastes. He could stomach embarrassing the hell out of himself and roll with it. Similar humor. Willing to listen. We could talk and talk forever. Politically speaking, I lean fairly liberal, where he's more libertarian, so we balance each other out. We've worked out some toxic traits that we brought to the relationship, and we're always striving to grow together as a unit. We moved in together fairly quickly, around 4 months after we started dating. I was escaping a toxic home life, and he stepped up to the plate. Took a leap of faith with me. I never forgot it. We lived in a studio apartment at first, so there were no doors to slam. It was one hell of a crash course in cohabitation and conflict resolution. We came out of that situation much stronger for it, but I know the lack of privacy or space can break a couple. We'll be celebrating 6 years together in January and got married 2.5 years ago. Another one. Congratulations, everyone's getting married. Story 7. She didn't try to change me, even the things about me that she wasn't so keen on. She was able to apologize if she said something that upset or annoyed me. She listened to what I had to say and complimented me she thought it was a good point or politely and calmly disagreed. She acknowledged my feelings and didn't usually ignore or disparage them, and if she did, she was quick to apologize. She was always happy to hear about the things I did that I was proud of, even if they were objectively stupid or trivial. She'll have to make dumb jokes. Sometimes I can tell she's just humoring me, but it's still very sweet of her to do that. Worth noting that I feel like all these points go both ways. We've had some challenges in our marriage, but we're still going strong in the double-digit years. Story 8. If you ever feel uncomfortable discussing something with them or you say something and they react negatively, there's something wrong. Which also means that if you can talk to someone and get or give a second chance, that's healthy communication, a strong sign you can work together and work out differences. If you can't communicate, you can love. I've 100% had moments where my brain has yelled, "They hate you," and I know they don't, but I've had moments where I messed up and hurt the other person and they needed to own up to it. You should be able to make mistakes. Be able to trust that they aren't going to disrespect your feelings. If that isn't happening, the relationship will go nowhere. Story 9. His apartment that he lived in alone was clean and neat and looked like a home. Like, not that I just cleaned the place for the first time in months look, but I'm a neat person in general look. He'd also made a lasagna from scratch for a date. For me, the fact that he was a grown man, living in his own, and he knew how to keep his place clean and to cook was a green flag. This was not a man I was going to have to mom or argue about the disparity of chores. My ex-husband was the exact opposite, so it was a breath of fresh air. Story 10. My son was 2 when my boyfriend and I got together, and after a few months, he met my son. It didn't warm up to him in the first couple of months, and it really weighed on my boyfriend. I put him to bed one night. My boyfriend was quietly crying and told me how concerned he was that my son just didn't seem to like him. I explained that since his bio dad was never around, he didn't have a lot of men in his life, and I think he saw him as competition. Fast forward to now. His son is 6, and they're inseparable. My son considers him his dad, and we've talked about my boyfriend adopting him when we get married. Story 11. I now saw how supremely unselfish he is. He does things for people with absolutely no expectation that anyone return the favor to him. He just does things to help people. He really is a special person. I've never met anyone like him. I always hoped someone like him existed, but kind of thought it was a dream to think that. To find someone who loves me for me and who I feel is just my equal partner is just the bee's knees. Story 12. Comes from a very different background to mine. I love theater and museums and galleries. He'd never even been to a show. He made a point of taking me to do everything I loved doing, even when it was weird to him. He also invited me to rugby matches and cricket games with him to learn about what he was into. And lastly, I'm a veggie, so we started ordering plant-based meals when we were out. I love sharing food because I hate picking one thing from a menu. Learning to cook food I can eat. No judgment or expectations to change. Story 13. I've been in a cruel relationship before this, and it was not until this partner of mine that I really understood what it was like to be in a completely happy, safe relationship. I knew that I wanted to spend more time with this girl the instant I saw her, and by the time we met a second time, we were already joking about marriage. Soon enough, it wasn't a joke. We listen to each other and respect each other. If something is getting too much for me, I still have the ability to tell her, and for her to not feel bad about it. She goes out of her way to try the games and shows that interest me, even if they're out of her comfort zone. She actively asks me what I want to do, and she's perfectly happy to do them, simply because they're with me. More than anything, it's more that we both have this solid idea in our head that whatever we do, ultimately we want to be with each other. There's no doubt or suspicion or feeling that doom is just around the corner. We want each other, and we're willing to work for it. And I think this is the first time I haven't had to settle for someone loving me less than I love them, because when you love someone, it's not wrong to want them to reciprocate what you're doing and feeling. Story 14. Honestly, a lot of people thought my green flag was a red one. When he was in the process of separating from his ex, we were already friends, but not yet a couple. His ex was trying to get on disability after him having supported her for years. He moved out, but kept working and sending her most of his money for over a year till the disability payments came through. Most people thought that was gullible of him, but it was a gesture of pure kindness. They didn't want her to lose her housing or anything just because they didn't work out. I started falling for him because of that. I knew that even if it didn't work out, he wouldn't leave me destitute or stranded. I felt safe, taking a chance on him as our relationship developed. We've been together 10 years now and married for 4. He's the sweetest, most amazing guy ever. I'm not even going to say anything anymore. Story 15. He's kind to others. I've never heard him talking ill of someone, even now, and we've been together 6 years. He encourages and supports me to do my best and follow my dreams, even if that makes things tougher for him for a while. He supported me while I was, or am, studying. We both have the exact same stupid sense of humor, and he makes me laugh every single day. He's basically just a male version of me without the crippling depression, and I know he would do anything for me. Story 16. I'm dating one of my best friends of 11 years. Been dating for a year and a half. Green flag numero uno is the feeling of having such a solid foundation of friendship that any relationship issues we can talk about so easily and not hurt each other. Anytime we're mad at each other, it's all open and talked about. At such a friendly level, I love it. Real love, man. We already know exactly who each other are, and there's nothing to hide from. Feel like we skipped years of hard relationship work because of it, and we can get right to the good stuff and keep on keeping on. Love that girl. Story 17. Even early on, I would notice that my husband would do small little things without telling me that would help me in some way. Randomly check my fluid levels in my car, grab the nicer piece of meat for my plate, get the brand of coffee I like rather than the one he prefers, etc. It became obvious that he would literally give the shirt off his back for me at the drop of a hat, which I know is how he expresses love. He's very selfless in general, which is a huge green flag to me because I can see that he's very empathetic. This, and he is an extremely good tipper. Story 18. I'm 29 and we're both closing in on our 10-year anniversary. The green flag that pops out the most is when I biked to the restaurant we met at. She noticed my helmet straps were loose. They'd always been sort of messed up. Anyway, she spent a good 5 minutes fixing them and finally got it to strap properly. It's silly, but I just love that she cared enough about my safety to do that. Other than that, major green flags for me are not arguing that much at all. Some people say it's healthy to argue, but we just don't disagree on much at all. If we do argue, we always resolve it and make up before going to sleep. We also were long distance for a couple years and would talk on the phone or Skype for 30 minutes to an hour every day. Strengthening our communication like that was a definite green flag. I used to have a little notepad where I'd write things I wanted to remember to tell her about on our daily call. Lastly, early on, a big green flag was her being proud to show me off to her friends and family. Story 19. Honestly, I raided with him. We met in World of Warcraft 9 years ago and wound up on the same progression raid team. I got to see him stressed, frustrated, and angry. Found out what he's like when he wants something and how he is when someone else wants the thing he also wants. Found out how well he can follow instructions and how much he can be a team player. I watched him raid for 6 months before I asked him out, and it was a fantastic decision. If you don't play MMOs, take your partner to a difficult escape room, especially one that needs multiple people acting together to solve. Bring your most excitable or stupid friend with. You'll get a look at their personality under definite but inconsequential pressure, and it's invaluable. Story 20. He immediately made it clear that we are a team, it's always us versus the problem. Explicitly told me that I could just say I didn't feel like having intimacy and he would never be upset or hurt, because he knew it wasn't about him. Openly asked my thoughts and opinions and his choices and took them into consideration when planning the future. Listens when I explain an issue from my perspective and is genuinely reflective on his own behavior or opinions as a result. Is unashamed to ask me about social issues that he's not well versed in but knows that I am, and listens carefully to my response. Respected my house rules even if they didn't match his, and we met in the middle when we moved in together. He grew up with dogs who weren't allowed in the sofa or the bedroom. I grew up with a dog sleeping on the end of the bed and a cat under the covers. Sees mess, does emotional labor, household planning. Never holds my mistakes against me. If there's a pattern of worrisome behavior from either of us, we discuss it as a concern and adjust, but he never blames me for mistakes I've made. Listened and followed through when I said he needed to speak to a doctor about his mental health and anxiety. He was already fairly self-aware, but he went to great lengths to educate himself and be better for his own sake. Story 21. My cat went missing for 3 days and we finally saw her in the crawl space in the far end of the house, weak and dehydrated. My boyfriend, whom I'd only been dating for 4 months, crawled through the mud and cobwebs and bugs in his nice slacks and bunned down without any hesitation to rescue my poor fried cat. Since that day, my cat, who's not fond of men at all, is obsessed with him whenever he comes over. 4 years later, and I still know I made the right choice. Story 22. She had faith in me and wouldn't let me put myself down. I have a few mental issues, and she honed in on them and made allowances for them. She cooks, she cleans, and she makes sure I'm fed and watered, as well as working, raising a child, getting a uni degree. She really is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And to top it all off with a cherry, she's brilliant in bed. I don't deserve her, to be honest, but I'll make the most of it while she's mine. Story 23. They were willing to wait until I was ready on anything, and willing to adapt to my changing interests as I learned what a good relationship was like for me. They were my first serious relationship, and before I had some toxic and negative behaviors that I had learned from abusive relationships. And they helped me learn to be able to talk about my feelings and emotions in ways I never had. Basically being adaptable and willing to learn with me what we both wanted and how we both felt. Communication skills developing through time and hard work from both of us, but a lot of work on his part to help me really cemented it. Not that it's their job. Obviously, I put in the effort to learn, but their patience was a huge green flag. Story 24. Leaving my toxic secondary school boyfriend and meeting my current partner at university. I would panic and over-apologize if I was a few minutes late, expecting to be shouted at. Apparently, that's not a normal reaction, and he has shown me, probably for the first time in my life, what it's like to live your life with a non-toxic person. I'm so lucky to be with him. I think I'm someone who is easily manipulated, but he's never taken advantage of me and instead has taught me how to stand up for myself and have boundaries. He's changed my life, and we're still together 12 years later. Story 25. We still enjoyed and still enjoy each other's company after a fight. Of course, there have been exceptions, but this mostly holds. She enjoyed things because I enjoyed them, despite not appreciating these things by herself. Conversely, I enjoyed things with her that I otherwise didn't. Think clubbing. Ugh. Watching rom-coms. Yikes. Playing with a rabbit for more than a few minutes. No fun to me in general. Great fun with her. After a while, we could both sense that we had changed because of each other and both felt we were better off because of it. We effectively opened each other's worlds to more enjoyment. How silly I used to be to look down upon people that go clubbing. Story 26. I have several different interests in my life. I'm an athlete, a classical musician, PhD, a gamer, and others. In previous relationships, I always felt like I had to really only focus on one of those things. I'm going to work out all the time, but never talk about D&D. When I met my husband, he was present in every aspect of me. He was interested in who I was as the whole person and wanted to learn about all of my hobbies and interests. I went to see his first symphony while we were dating and even started playing in a co-ed league for the team sport I was playing. Now, he has a pretty big role in our city's Nutcracker production. Definitely not something he would have foreseen. It makes me proud to be me, and I'm proud to have a husband and friend like him. Story 27. I just come out of the worst relationship of my life. Granted, other people have had it much worse than me, but I've never been in such a one-sided, heartless, untrusting relationship before, and it had hurt me. I came out to my now ex-girlfriend about being pansexual, and after a week of the silent treatment, she broke up with me because she couldn't trust that I wouldn't be attracted to guys while dating her. This affected me more than I'd like to admit. I've been slowly growing comfortable in my sexuality, and this was a low blow. I felt worthless. Although I was glad the relationship was over because, to be frank, I'd just been scared to break it off with her for weeks, but the explanation she gave me struck me to the core. Then came the best relationship of my life. We met on Tinder. I know, very romantic. And when I had swiped right, I was sure there would be no way she would too, because from what I could tell by her profile, she seemed exactly my type. Shortly after we matched, I told her that I was pan and she was instantly accepting. The first day was in a tiny little study room at our university library. But we hit it off so well that we stayed in that room until around 2 a.m. Moved the day to the musical practice rooms nearby and remained drunk in each other's presence until about 4 a.m. Neither of us went for a kiss or anything, but the date felt perfect to me. My cheeks hurt from smiling, and I almost felt as though the date had been too short. This December is our first year anniversary. I know it may seem early, but I'm already itching to propose. Of course, I'm going to be responsible and wait to do so until we're both emotionally and financially ready for a commitment like that, probably at least 3 years down the line. But I just can't wait. I feel like I've known her for 1,000 lifetimes, but also like I haven't come close to spending enough time with her. She graduated last year and moved back home with her family in another state for quarantine, so I've seen her in person twice since February. It seriously hurts, but it makes every time I see her that more amazing. To answer the question in a more cohesive manner that isn't a lovesick ramble, the biggest green flags were that she accepted me for who I am for the get-go, and that the first date just felt absolutely perfect. If you want a perfect date, I know I do. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 28. Number 1. She was patient with my anxiety and mental health. She tried understanding my panic attacks when I wasn't having them and was just there during and after them. She was never preachy, never tried advice, just worry less type crap. She loved me for me, not who she could make me. Number 2, my father told me not to screw this one up. Never had an opinion on girlfriends in the past. He saw something in her. Number 3, she's independent and has her own life outside of me, but welcomes me into it. She's welcomed and loved inside my circle as well as I am in hers. Number 4, she's my best friend. I love spending time with her. I would rather be with her than out drinking with friends. Number 5, she lets me worry about her and listens to my advice, then acts on that. It seems weird to type out, and I doubt I'm doing a good job. I guess I'm saying my thoughts matter, and she trusts my judgment most of the time. She trusts me. In our 6 years together, I've quit drinking, quit smoking, lost 60 pounds, started exercising, worked to get my dream job, and had my anxiety completely under control. Not because she told me to, but because I wanted to spend a long life with her. I wanted to be here. I wanted to make the changes as an individual to make us stronger as a couple. She did that without pushing me. And this time, she has become more confident and outspoken with some of her past, tough childhood. She has become an advocate for hurting students in her class. She's gotten her dream job and 2 master's degrees and lost around 70 pounds. We have worked hard together. We've been successful together because we want to see the other be successful. Separately, we were good people struggling to find ourselves. When we got together, we have grown and found ourselves together. Story 29. We met on an English teaching course. One of the other teachers hadn't made friends with any of us, and he was the first to notice. After we went for a dinner, all the teachers, he invited this guy to join us for the day. About 4 of us who had also just met, we weren't dating yet. I saw how good he was at teaching the kids and giving up his time for them. He joined in with all the embarrassing, silly tasks we had to do to entertain them. On one occasion, we acted as Shrek and Fiona. Another, he had to dance. One day I was stressed as I had to fill out an important form which wasn't loading, and he realized as he walked past, so he came over, sat with me, and started trying to help. One night he was sleeping in my bed for the first time. It was a shared room, so it was me and a friend in the room normally, but this night he was there too. I wasn't entirely comfortable enough to sleep under the blanket together as it felt too serious, and so he slept on top of the blanket with me for me. When it got cold, he gave me a jumper without me saying anything. He also got me out of a situation where my drink was spiked one night and half carried me back safely. Story 30. This wasn't super early in our relationship, 3 years in at this point, but I was diagnosed bipolar. I had a manic episode that lasted nearly 6 months. I was hearing things, paranoid, pretty much having a stereotypical manic episode. I ended up being hospitalized for the safety of myself and others. My now husband, then boyfriend, had every reason to leave me. We were in college. He could have broken up with me and found someone less crazy, but he stuck it out, visited me in the hospital as often as he could, advocated for me when I was unable to, made sure my medication was taken daily, and loved me even when I didn't love him. I didn't love anyone at that point in my life. I've now been medicated and stable for 5+ years. We're married, own a house, and have a baby. I love that man more than anything. Him sticking around at my absolute lowest was a neon green sign that he was the one. Story 31. Helping me while I was getting bullied by a friend. Saying it was okay when I had my mood switches and emotional breakdowns. Never getting annoying or angry at me when I put my nails into his arm to calm myself down. Helping me through a horrible first year of high school. If he wouldn't have helped me through it, I would probably not be here. He helped me off scratching myself, scathing friends and people I cared about. He opened me up to a new world without my awful friends. I feel like I can never say enough, but we're together 4 years later and I'm still happy with him. Story 32. I talk a lot and always have. Close friends and family have made jokes about me being annoying since I was a kid and often made me feel like a burden. My boyfriend never, ever does. If I lose track, he will tell me exactly what I was saying before so that I can continue. He'll remember things I said months or even years ago, even if I forget them myself, and he tells me he loves listening to my stories and that hearing me talk is one of his favorite things. I never knew how important this was to me before I met him, and it makes me feel so incredibly appreciated. I tell him all the time how much it means to me that he listens, and I always try to ask him questions and be quiet to create balance. This is just one of many examples, though. He's such an amazing and respectful person. Please, people, find partners who appreciate you for being you and make it easy to do so. Story 33. I was close friends with my husband for more than a year before we started dating. Here are the green flags I noticed before we even entered a relationship together. Number 1, he never once objectified me or any other woman. When our other friends would start saying gross things about women, he would make fun of them or call them out for being gross and change the subject. This was really unique to me because we were teens at the time and basically all the guys I knew talked about girls nonstop. Number 2, he treated everyone the same. Family, friend, coworker, it didn't matter. I never met anyone who didn't have at least slightly different personalities with their family versus different friend groups, and I really admired that. Number 3, despite his insecurities, which have gotten much better over the years, he was always very confident in himself and always tried to do the right thing, even if it was hard. For example, at parties, he would make sure no one drove home intoxicated, and if people got too wasted, it would help them get through the night. I remember him doing this for at least one person that I know he really disliked, and I really respected that. Basically, he was a genuine, honest, kind person who treated me as an equal, even when we were just friends. He didn't treat me nicely just because he found me attractive, which was something I had never experienced at the time. 10 years ago when we were still teenagers. Story 34. The way he treated animals that were past the cuddly and cute stage of their lives. A 16-year-old cat cuddles and chin scruffs while talking to him like an old man. A 9-year-old rescue pup talking about all the places he's been and belly rubs. When I got pregnant, we had tried for years but gave up, and I was months away from getting semi-permanent birth control to save myself for the heartache. The day we found out, all he could do was hold me, kiss my tummy, and laugh. It was one of the most emotional and positive memories I've ever had. He also regularly checks in with me when my ADHD kicks in and I start zoning out, acting overly needy, missing big chunks of projects or tasks, or crying because why won't my freaking brain just cooperate? We also opened up about all of our really deep, dark stuff. Not just things that happened to us, but things that we did to other people that gave us deep guilt. Kind of stuff that haunts you about being a selfish teen or young adult and hurting others. We didn't start out in a red flag-free place since we both had a lot of baggage, but we didn't use those flags on each other, and it allowed for a lot of unpacking and changing the colors of our flags to green. Story 35. I've been with my husband for 9 years, married for 3. I'd say the first big green flag at the beginning was his respect for me. Like the beginnings of other relationships at the time, I could tell he respected me for who I was and embraced everything about me, even the not-so-great bits. We were really young when we met, both 18, and I could just tell that this relationship was different. He was invested in me as a person. I'm a pretty high-stress person, but when I got stressed, instead of pushing me away, he helped me work through it. He's an amazing and patient man, and I'm extremely lucky to have found him. Story 36. This will always stick with me. One day, his computer crashed. He's a hardcore gamer with a cool PC, which also happens to be very expensive. He was really quiet, trying to take apart the PC to figure out what was wrong. I had recently divorced a cruel person who would regularly scream, cry, and scream at me when things would go wrong or break. Not because something bad happened, but because I did not adequately comfort him. This behavior would continue for hours, with me crying and profusely apologizing, begging him not to leave me. It was a frequent occurrence over the course of 14 years we were together, so fast forwarding to the new boyfriend's computer breaking, I panicked. He was so quiet around me, and I was so scared that I wasn't comforting him correctly or that he was going to start screaming at me that I curled up in the bedroom and sat there for an hour. Then he pops into the room and asks me if I want to walk to the local coffee shop, which I cautiously agree to. As we're walking, he casually describes what he thinks the problem with the computer is, how we spent a while, quietly, concentrating and researching how to fix it, and that it would probably take a week or so he'll have to find other activities to do in the meantime. Then he asks me what kind of coffee I want and what I'd like to do today, since he couldn't play on the computer. I nearly burst into tears. No berating lecture, no screaming about how I'm incompetent. Just, how do you like your coffee? Can we spend the day together? I knew at that moment that healthy relationships actually existed. We're now happily married with 2 doggos and living our best lives. Story 37. We met when we were 15. He was really nice to his mom and was 100% comfortable in his masculinity. He told me right away that we were too young to get married, but that he knew he would someday. He had several close, lifelong friendships that he nurtured. He isn't pushy and he's thoughtful. He paid super close attention to my interests and was able to buy me gifts that helped me further my goals in some way. He always said nice things about me when I wasn't in the room, and he is so funny. My sister liked him. We got married when we were 23, and now at 33, we're almost ready for our 10-year wedding anniversary. He's basically the only in-law that my parents consider their kid because he's been around for nearly 18 years. Also, he thinks I'm gorgeous. Like, he worships me. He's always telling me I look nice or smell nice and just makes me feel nice. When I think about any part of my future, it was so easy to see him in it because he makes every situation instantly better. Yesterday, I hurt my ankle. I'm an early riser, so I hobbled to the couch this morning. His sleepy self followed to make sure I could still get my morning coffee. He was cracking jokes in the ER and made the whole situation joyful despite the circumstance. He's handsome from the inside out. He's not just the love of my life, he's the adventure partner of my life. He really knows how to be not just a good lover, but a good friend. That is probably the most important part. I'm not just attracted to him. I'd be happy and lucky to know him even if we weren't together. Story 38. First time my now wife met my parents, she was in double arm casts. A few months prior, she had slipped down some stairs and broke her right arm. Fast forward to the day before she gets her cast off, she slips on ice and breaks her left arm. Cue her meeting my family and grandma with double casts. We meet at Bob Evans, and within 5 minutes of having our food, my stiff-armed wife somehow slings gravy all over her hair. We all start busting up laughing, including my grandma. That's when I knew. 13 years and 2 kids later, we're still laughing at each other. Story 39. It was incredibly patient and kind, no matter the situation. But the one standout moment was meeting his roommate for the first time. I met my fiancée a week or 2 before, and it was maybe our 3rd time together. We all decided to watch a movie, and I'd just gotten off from an early shift at a daycare. I was very tired, and a few minutes passed before I fell asleep leaning against him. I'm not the type of person to ever feel comfortable with strangers, so to fall asleep in a room with 2 men I just met was crazy. But from day one, he made me feel so safe, and it felt that way ever since. He really listens to me, apologizes sincerely, and is so proud of everything I do. I didn't have a good, stable home life growing up, so having him be my family now feels like I've won the lottery. I'm a bit eccentric, and he's a very traditional guy, so sometimes friends will comment on it, but they miss the view into our everyday life. He's 100% everything I ever wanted, and I hate the implication that I settled. I hit it out of the ballpark. Story 40. He made me laugh so hard that the guy next to me flinched. He looked for active consent. We had so many moments as we were getting to know each other where we'd share a very specific, firmly held opinion about very niche things, and the other would go, "Yes, exactly." When people ask me a question, I usually have to ask if they want the long answer or the short answer because I'm just rambly and weird, and he always says the long answer. We instantly bonded over our shared love for animals, which is something important to me and which indicates a strong sense of empathy in a person. A little later in the relationship, I got food poisoning while visiting him, and he took such good care of me. A lot later in our relationship, I was feeling really anxious and didn't want to eat as a result, so he made himself cheese and crackers, my favorite, and sat next to me to eat them. I asked if I could have one, and he said yes, because that was his plan all along. He knew if he told me to eat, I wouldn't, but if he sat down next to me with cheddar cheese, I wouldn't be able to resist. He played me into taking care of myself. We've been long distance for almost the entirety of our 3 years together, and every time we see each other after being apart, it's like we were never away. I haven't seen him since the first week of March due to a lockdown, and it breaks my heart. He's my forever person. Can't wait to see him again. Story 41. My husband and I celebrate 28 years married on Saturday. We've known each other 37 years. We were friends for close to 10 years before we got married. A year before we got married, I had gone out of an emotionally cruel marriage with my 6-month-old daughter. He was in the military, stationed across the country from where I was living with my parents. I called to confirm him I had left my husband. He started calling me every night and we talked for a couple of hours. This was back before cell phones, obviously. He got a second job at the base commissary and canceled his cable so he'd have the money to pay his phone bill. He has always put my needs before his. He's still an amazing guy who would do anything to make me happy. Story 42. Before we dated, my partner went above and beyond to make sure I was comfortable. If we were talking about NSFW stuff or sharing NSFW art, it would warn me, censor, etc. I was and am a little shy in private, so knowing they had my back and would happily respect my boundaries was a huge green flag. They also responded really well to an issue with someone else that filled me with dread and anxiety. Didn't mock or minimize any of it, and eventually made friends with that person and resolved the trauma for all parties involved. I told them about an ex I was still in contact with right after we started dating, and they were so kind toward him. They trusted me and expressed gratitude rather than jealousy. Actually, anytime I mentioned someone in my life who I appreciated, a partner would be glad I had good friends and colleagues to support me and openly express it. Responses to people who hurt me were sympathy for me and validation that I deserved better. They also did their own homework. The first time I mentioned love languages, they went, "Oh, sounds neat. What's that?" And I mentally prepared to summarize it, and they immediately messaged back their thoughts and specific ones, and I was like, "Oh, right. Google exists. And I have a partner that can do their own research." They kept finding bars like that to step over that they didn't think were that low. One last one. We messaged each other nearly constantly. We were in an LDR for the first 5 months, but sometimes when I needed to concentrate on work, they would purposefully leave me alone and not interrupt, saving any thoughts they had until I reached out and said I was done. I remember being amazed that a quiet phone with no notifications could make me feel so loved. Story 43. Honestly, she believes me without all the BS. In the first weeks we were together, I had a very bad day at work. I was very crabby and moody. I stopped by her place as we previously planned and told her that I'm angry, feeling aggressive, and that it had nothing to do with her. She gave me a quick kiss, said, "That sucks. What do you need from me?" I said that I need to be alone for a bit to sort myself out and make sure that I don't take out my frustrations on people that don't deserve it. She kissed me again and said that she'll look forward to seeing me tomorrow. Tomorrow came and I stopped by again. She thanked me for letting her know my mood and that she held zero responsibility for it. Then we had a good day. I was blown away and appreciative of her letting me do what I needed to do and sort myself out. Story 44. One green flag was the way he talked about his ex, and that he didn't. And I found out just a month or so into dating that she had only left him a month before I met him, so I asked him about it. He said he held no resentment towards her, and they were both better off now. He said he was waiting for the right time to tell me because he didn't want to scare me off or have me thinking I was a rebound, and he was trying to figure out how to explain how little I should be worried about it. They had been together for 7 years, so it was a bit daunting, but he was so respectful about her and their breakup. We're just about to hit 9 years. Story 45. When we have had fights, we would both cool off, but then talk about why we were upset and work through our problems. We both wanted the same things: family, careers, wants, needs, etc. I do shift work. She's a bartender, and we're both at university. When we have days off, we study together. I take minor units that she majors in, and she helps me with my assignments like proofreading and critiquing, etc. And I do the same for her. We set up days where we study together. When I come back from the night shift, she lets me sleep through the day and make sure I have food for work. When she's at work, I'm happy to cook and clean so she can relax when she comes home. We're a team that support each other. During the lockdown, she saw that I was struggling. I couldn't tell. She pulled me aside and told me that I could either talk to a psychologist or someone, or that she's done. I made an appointment the next day, and it was the best thing I could have done. I understand my frustrations and anger more, realized that shift work and lack of sleep were ending me, and I harbor no ill will towards her for calling me out. The fact that she felt comfortable enough to do that makes me really happy, and we are in an even better spot now. But the biggest, greenest flag was when I asked her to marry me and I didn't feel nervous at all because I knew the answer, and she was waiting for me to ask her. She said yes. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.